What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of TREY Lance's throwing mechanics. We're going to be talking about how you guys can throw a better deep ball, how you guys can throw on the run, and just the overall throwing mechanics of the quarterback position, how you guys can get better hip drive, leg drive, and just overall torque on the ball. And we're going to take a look at why I think he's a very talented passer. I've been neglecting doing a breakdown on him. Everybody's been telling me to take a look at his film, so I'm excited to do this breakdown, excited to give you guys some insight on what makes him such a great passer of the football, what gives him such a strong arm, and I hope this gives you guys some value, okay? And guys, if you're a quarterback and you want to get better reading coverages, being able to understand defenses, right? And you want to know what NFL defenses do, right? So that could take you into your game in high school and just give you that insight on, okay, this is what the defense is trying to do. This is what he's trying to accomplish. Check out that link in the description that says learn how to read defense. We have 200 plus already made breakdowns on how to read defenses, how you guys can diagnose coverages. So check out that link in the description. Plus you get 4 new videos every single week on just defensive breakdowns. Just like this, I draw on the screen, I talk it through step by step, but it's all about IQ. So hope to get you guys on that soon. Let's get started. So first things first here, we're going to be talking about this deep ball. So let's watch it again full speed. So I think a great example of what he's able to do is how he's able to turn ground force into rotational force, and we talk about his base, right? That's what we're going to mainly be focusing on today. So you see when Lance hitches up here and it's time to throw, you see how he's got honestly a perfect base in my opinion, right? Feet just outside of his shoulders. He's not super wide to where he's not able to drive his back hip through, but he's not super narrow to where he's going to have this nice long stride, right? Now, one thing that you're going to hear me say a lot about today, he kind of loads down with that back leg, and I'm sure that's something he works on. I'm sure that's something that he's going to fix before he enters the draft, is that he kind of loads on this back leg, like he'll sink down, right? Rather than being like you see so many passers who are already just preloaded and they just drive and they get their hips through right now. So he kind of sinks down with it, which, I mean, honestly, not a huge deal, but it's just a little thing that you can clean up. But that load is a great opportunity for him to push off that inside arch, and I think that's why he does load up so much on that back leg, because when he loads, it's really like he's getting ready to push, like almost like a pitcher coming off of a mound. That's how you guys want to think. So many people neglect this like ground force phase because they're so focused on being rotational, right? Because that's a big part in today's quarterback world, is that you want to be so rotational, you want to be able to get torque on the ball, and yes, all those are true. I'm not saying those aren't true, but we can't neglect turning the ground force, being able to push into rotational force, right? You look at a guy like Drew Brees, he's one of those guys that loves to push off that back leg, and his base is wide, right? Your base is wide, so you have the opportunity to push off that back leg. Your front foot's out there to catch you. You push off the inside arch, that front foot catches you, and now my hips can shoot through. Now I can rotate through with my hips and turn the ground force into rotational force and make sure I keep my shoulders level for torque, right? So that's how you guys get more velocity on the ball. Being able to push off the inside arch, driving my hips through, but at the same time staying square with my upper half so I can be more twitchy, you know what I mean? That's one of those things that a lot of people like to use. That word a lot of people like to use. You want to be twitchy, right? You want to have that nice torque, that drive on that ball. So you see when he's here, now what does he do? He strikes the ground. He's got that bent knee on that front leg, right? That keeps the ground force that you produce, right? So when you push off that back leg, you don't want to let this leg lock out. You don't want to shoot that leg up because that'll pop your butt straight up in the air, and then I lose velocity on it, right? So he does a great job of keeping a slight bend to that front knee, right? Pushing off the inside arch so he could transfer that weight. And now what comes through? It's his hip drive, right? You see how his front hip's starting to open up, and it's not his shoulder coming down. It's not his elbow swinging down. What a lot of people love to do is they love to swing that front elbow, and that's going to push your release up high. And then we're going to tend to miss high or low because we're going to be coming down on the ball. Then another thing people like to do is when they're in this position right here, they love to swing their front shoulder around so their shoulder ends up behind them. They like replace their shoulders. Like you're lined up, you got your, like let's say you're a righty, you got your left shoulder on the target, and then you finish and your right shoulder's all the way on the target, but your left shoulder's pointing behind you. That's how we lose torque. That's how we don't have that snappiness, because we're being a shoulder thrower, not a hip thrower, right? So he does a great job of rotating with his hips and keeping those shoulders completely level. You want your shoulders almost parallel to like the plane that you're throwing on, right? So he's trying to throw some touch, right? So what does he do? He arcs that shoulder a little bit, so he wants his shoulders parallel to that plane that he's on. If you guys are just throwing normally like 10 yards away and I'm playing catch with somebody, you want your shoulders completely level straight across, because that's the plane you're trying to throw on. You're just trying to rotate through. So being able to stay level with those shoulders and stay square with those hips, square with the shoulders, square with the hips. That's the key. That's where you want to try to get to with your upper half, because you let your hips rotate you through, keep a slight bend on that front leg so we're able to keep that ground force, and then that's how we get more power on the ball, especially on a deep ball. So many people struggle with this deep ball because they love to lean their head out of there. They love to lean that shoulder, love to dip the elbow because they're trying to get so much power on the ball. But if I can focus on letting my hips do it, my shoulders do it, that's what's going to give me more torque on the ball, and I'm going to be more consistent. At first, it might feel weird if you guys are trying to change this kind of a thing, but it's important that we just focus on driving from my legs, letting my my hips to it and keeping your upper half quiet, okay? That's number one. So watch this thing again full speed one more time. That's how you guys can get a little bit stronger of an arm, right? You focus on pushing, keep the bend of the front knee, let my hips rotate me through, and I snap that wrist up at the top to get that nice arc on the ball. It's a great job. So now we're going to be looking at this throw here. He's a very, from the film that I was taking a look at, very mobile guy, right? And we're going to talk about just a little bit throwing on the run, how you guys can get better at throwing with this like escape situation. Throws at this wide open receiver on the sideline here. So when we're escaping the pocket, so important that we work these kind of throws when you guys are working out in your own time, right? You're working with receivers, you're working out with quarterback coach, whoever. I know with my quarterbacks, we rarely work just a regular sprint out. I mean, we'll work it, yeah, if that's something that they feel like they need to touch on, right? But when we're working any kind of throw on the run, it's all escape drill stuff. It's all navigating back here, giving some kind of footwork like a conflict climb, or like they have to avoid and then they have to get out and escape, because it's going to be so beneficial for you guys to be able to run and escape and be running full speed, and at the same time I'm able to point my toe at the target, rotate my shoulders, and be able to throw a torque and be able to throw a consistency while I'm escaping this pocket and while I'm working like this escape drill situation, right? So you see when he's able to get out here, Lance, he's able to get out. It's so important that we're able to throw from these uncomfortable positions, right? So many guys, when they throw on the run or they're throwing to a stationary target, they get out, they throw on the run, and they throw when they feel like it. They throw when they're, okay, I'm getting ready to throw this thing, all right, I'm preparing for it, and I throw it. And that's when you're in a game, you don't have that extend the play ability. You don't have that ability to be able to just throw right on a dime. Step with the right leg, close the shoulders, and let it fly. So we got to make sure that we're comfortable with these types of throws. Where I'm here, I'm running, and I just can step at any time. I step with my throwing side leg, and that's when I start my backstroke, right? Because that's how you're able to get torque. When you swing this left leg through and you drive your hips, that's how you get more torque on this ball. So you see, you want to step with your right leg in the direction of the throw, right? You see Patrick Mahomes, he's a great guy to watch do this, because like those throws that he makes that are just freak athlete throws, where he's got maybe a drag backside and he's throwing back across the field, he'll step with his right toe all the way, or like the top of his right foot or the point of his foot, all the way across that field, because that step brings those hips there. Now, there are times where you guys can let your hips keep going to the outside. You'll step here, but your hips fade away, and then you throw across your body. That's what across your body means. So we need to have both. You got to be able to step with your throwing side leg, but at the same time, you want to bring your hips there. And something that I tell my quarterbacks, which is kind of a good trigger for you to kind of like learn and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. This is something that I can do to make sure my hips get there. You almost want to think of it like you want to kick your foot in the direction of the throw. So like you got something on the top of your foot, like dirt or whatever, and you're trying to kick it at the target, because that will help you bring those hips to the throw, because you see how he's square, and he's on the move, and he's able to run. He's escaping the pocket. He's running away from defenders, and he's able to get there in one step. He's running completely towards the sideline. He's able to step with the right leg towards the direction of the target, kick his foot in the direction he wants it to go, because that brings his shoulders level, that brings his hips parallel. It's the same kind of mechanics that we were just talking about in that deep ball, right? You want your shoulders parallel to the plane that you're throwing at, and you want your hips level with the target, right? So that step and that kick of that toe gets you there. Now, if you're able to stay square, you're not able to lean out of there with your upper half, that's not a cross-body throw. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a cross-body. That's not across the body. Across the body is when you don't bring your hips, your left leg's kicking towards the sideline, and you step, but you're fading away. That's when we lose power. That's when we lose consistency. But if you guys can step with the right leg like he does, step with the right leg, bring your hips, and kick that left leg through, and stay square with your upper half and pull that front hand back tight to your body like you're throwing, so you get some more torque on this ball, and emphasize that follow through. That's how we're more consistent on the run. You see how after he throws it too, he kind of fades away, right? But at release point, he is square. That's where we want to try to get to. After a release point, I could care less what happens. But we got to be square at that release point. I got to emphasize that follow through. That's a great ball here by Lance. Watch it again, full speed one more time. So he comes out here, making sure we're avoiding, keeping my eyes downfield, escape out, bring those hips there in one step, step in the direction of the throw, and kick that left leg through. That's a great job there. Great play, great job extending the play. All right, so now we're going to be looking at this throw here from the Elite 11. I believe this was this past year. I'm not 100% sure on when this clip was, but this is a great example of what I was talking about with that load a second ago, to be able to push, right? Big thing about quarterbacks is base, right? And Lance is a great base. That's exactly what I was talking about. So you see how when he goes to throw, he kind of sinks down, right? You see that load up right there. The only problem with that load, and like I said, probably working on this, and he's probably already fixed it, right? But the thing about that load, and I'm trying to tell this for the younger quarterbacks out there that have this problem, that load is just a split second too long, right? Especially the level that Lance is going to play at, and as high level of a quarterback he is, that load just takes a little bit too long, right? It's just that it's a fraction of a second that we could have back. Why not get comfortable already? I'm not saying be that low, and he kind of sinks a little bit too low right here in this situation, but why not already be preloaded? Why not sit there in that pocket? Like, you look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't have that load up. He just puts that foot in the ground, he pushes, and he turns that over, right? That sink down, and again, everybody throws different, and I understand that, right? But that sink down, that load is just a split second that allows the defense to react. Split second where the window's closed, right? So it's important that I'm just going to be preloaded. I want to already be there. I want to already be in that situation so I can just push right now and get this ball out, right? But a pretty good job, pretty good sequence, right, where he's here, front foot's down, he closes that front shoulder, he's in that like kind of opposite L situation. See this front shoulder's a little bit different than a lot of other quarterbacks, right? A lot of other quarterbacks like to close that front shoulder as long as we keep it somewhat on the target. You want to keep that front shoulder on the target as you're getting that front foot down, and you want your hips to bring it through. You don't want to let this shoulder and your head swing out of there. You see how he does a great job of driving with his hips. He's being rotational. He's bringing that knee through because that's how you're going to get torque. If your hip can come through before that football and we get that nice position of zero right here and you're turning that back foot over, that's how we get power. That's how we get torque on this thing, and I can finish. And you see how when he finishes, he's square, right? That's what we want to focus on. But let's focus on also trying to eliminate that load. Sinking down is just something that takes a little bit too much time. If you guys want to be a quicker release, quicker passer, try to already be preloaded. So when it's time to work in that pocket, I can just push right now because those windows, as you guys get older, for the younger quarterbacks at their high school, lower than that college, the windows get smaller and smaller and smaller. So we just got to make sure that I'm able to push and get it out of my hands. Let's watch this thing again, full speed one more time. Just that load, just a little bit too late, like I said, but great job. Pretty good sequence here by Lance. I think he's going to be a great passer. I think he's going to have honestly, I think he's going to be good in the NFL. I really like how this guy throws the ball. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please leave those in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And, guys, if you're a quarterback, again, you want to get better at reading coverages, 200-plus already made breakdowns just like this one. You could scroll through on every coverage, man coverage to cover 4, cover 3 sky, cover 3 buzz, all of them, every single coverage, Tampa 2, just to name a few that are on there, right? And plus 4 new breakdowns every single week. Hope we can get you guys on that soon. I'll see you guys next time.